After a decade of EA developed and published Star Wars games, we finally have our first title coming from outside of EA, in Ubisoft's Star Wars Outlaws. Developed by Massive Entertainment, the developers behind the Division series and most recently Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. It's been a weird decade of Star Wars games, from the extreme lows of Battlefront's 2 launch, the cancellation of 1313 and Project Ragtag, and to the highs of the Respawn Jedi series, the redemption story of Star Wars Battlefront 2, and the extremely well-crafted Star Wars Squadrons. Ubisoft Massive offers a completely different experience focused on the Star Wars underworld. There's been mixed takes on this one, from the skepticism of Ubisoft's recent track record to knowing what Massive are capable of in delivering authentic worlds to explore. Today, I want to talk about why I'm on the optimistic side when it comes to Star Wars Outlaws, and why I have a good feeling about this. Let's begin with the final point I just made. Ubisoft Massive. I've played both The Division and The Division 2, and I plan to get around to Avatar at some point. In fact, I recently went back and played The Division 2 New York DLC. The ability that Massive have in creating such incredibly detailed and vivid worlds is unmatched. Despite not playing Avatar, I've heard nothing but exceptional things about the environments and the fidelity of that Pandora that they've created. Apply that to Star Wars, and we already know we're going to be exploring familiar places in Kijimi from Rise of Skywalker, Canto Bight from The Last Jedi, and the sands that no man can escape, Tatooine, alongside some new places in Avika and Tashara. This is something that I've always felt the Jedi games have done pretty well, to give us the familiar alongside something new to explore. Knowing Massive's ability to create these detailed worlds, I can't wait to see them capture the Star Wars theme and locations and personality. I think a little bit about Starfield in that their handcrafted planets I enjoyed exploring, but as soon as I landed on something procedurally generated, I lost all interest. The idea of exploring these locations in the cities but also the wider areas on speeders is very, very exciting to me. Of course, there's that little bit of Ubisoft fear that the exploration becomes a little bit checklisty, based that, rather than it being natural and compelling. From what we've seen, I think there's reasons to be excited but still skeptical about what that exploration might entail. Another thing I'm really excited about is the idea of you scrolling down and hitting that subscribe button if you're excited for more coverage on Star Wars games. But in all seriousness, a second thing I am excited for is a Star Wars version of the Wanted system. We don't actually see it done too often in games outside the GTA series. It was done to a degree in Cyberpunk and of course Red Dead. It's almost kind of genius and perfect here. Like the Empire, especially being set between episodes 5 and 6, it makes perfect sense to want an Empire Wanted system. In the brief gameplay demo we got to see the Wanted system, but not really any detail on how it progresses. We'll have to wait and see for more information on that, but I think it'd be pretty cool if it starts off with the Empire trying to get you, but as your reputation enhances, they put out contracts on you, they hire bounty hunters to come and get you, and as your reputation increases, the more elite hunters come after you. Like I say, it's interesting how the system may evolve, how you become unwanted. Will that affect the decisions and the progress throughout the main quest? Does it leave replayability after the main credits roll? The idea too of becoming wanted on a planet, and then as you leave the planet you're then pursued in space, I think that's really cool. I also think it'd be pretty cool, and look, this is asking an awful lot technically and it's probably unfeasible, but say you're being pursued in space, then as you fly down into the planet, the fighters follow you and you end up in like a dogfight above the cities and biomes. I think that'd be really, really good. I think the potential of a wanted system in an Empire era is really, really high, and I can't wait to see its implementation. A third reason I'm really excited for this game is the whole theme of the game itself, being an outlaw. I won't lie, my main grabs when it comes to Star Wars is the never-ending battle of the Jedi versus the Sith. It wasn't really until the Mandalorian came along to spark this fire of loving the bounty hunter side of things. I've always loved Cad Bane, IG-88, Bossk and the Fett, but they were never the best part of Star Wars to me. The idea of making decisions like we saw in the gameplay, whether to bribe the Imperial officer or not, that's really cool to me. Will those decisions have a big impact on the narrative in the different outcomes and endings? It's hard to tell, but experiencing some time in the kind of lower levels of civilizations where shady dealings are going down is very exciting to me. It gives me the impression that we'll be able to become our own kind of outlaw. Of course, no matter what, we're going to be playing as Kay, but it looks like we'll be given the freedom to express ourselves in the way we want to, no matter what. I'm excited to see how that ties into the whole narrative arc of the story. Do we dictate towards becoming more of a Cad Bane-like figure to complete heists and doing kind of whatever we want, whatever the cost is? Or do we have more of like a Jin role where we have a reason to take a lighter path? We don't know much about the narrative aside from the idea of completing the ultimate heist. It's fair to say that despite the losses of 1313 and Ragtag being cancelled, this feels like a spiritual successor to what those games would have turned out to be. Number 4. The characters. I mean, look right, Star Wars, the undisputed kings of 10 out of 10 droids. So many iconic ones. BD-1, R2, C-3PO, BB-8, IG-11, R4, Chopper, K-2SO. I could go on and on and on. But then you stick a commando droid in a trench coat and we might have a new contender out here. I mentioned before what I love about Star Wars, but I think it's integral to any brilliant Star Wars media. It's crew. Here we have Kay, her four-legged companion Nix, who, just like droids, Star Wars always has the best creatures. And of course we've got the big geezer in the trench coat, ND5. I mean, this is a really cool group from aesthetics to the potential of back and forth and personality. I think of any good crew. The Jedi games, you got Cal, Grease, BD. Any Star Wars movie, the Clone Wars crew of Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, the Rebels crew, Mando and Grogu. This ensemble has the potential to be just as iconic to me. It's not just them that's exciting though. I've become a little tired myself of projects set between 3 and 4, so having a game set between 5 and 6 is a really nice change of pace. We know for a fact that we're going to be seeing and dealing with Jabba the Hutt. One thing I praise about the Jedi games is the cameos. They make sense, they're not just shoehorned in. They fit and they're not overdone. The possibilities of encounters with Boba and Cad Bane or other bounty hunters. Look, I'm not going to get myself overly hyped. I know for a fact that there'll be some, but I really trust their ability to not shove it in your face all the time. Not just that, but I'm also excited to encounter new characters. I think about how Merrin played such a small role at the end of Jedi Fallen Order, but then became such a fan favourite. Countless examples of this throughout the Star Wars universe, and often with the underworld comes the most complex characters. So I'm really excited to establish these complicated relationships with them. Can you really trust them, or will they turn their back on you at the first sight? The final reason I'm really excited for Star Wars Outlaws is the idea of finally having that true exploration of living in a Star Wars game and universe. I love space, sci-fi, but most of all Star Wars. Starfield scratched a big itch, but it had a lot of problems. I've been eyeing up Star Wars mods for that game for a while, but now I feel like I don't have to. This game is attempting to do a whole lot. You got the varied combat and changing up the blasters to like a combat blaster to a shield penetrating one. You can also approach different scenarios in different ways. Like that gameplay section we saw, it was very much trying to be cinematic, you know? I mean, for me, like I get in there, so anyway I started blasting. But I think there's a lot of potential to really explore the underworld and the themes of it in a way that we haven't seen since maybe Mandalorian Season 1. I think about the idea of getting in dogfights in space or being on the run. I think about the idea of exploring these streets, jungles, open areas, spending time with the crew, completing bounties and contracts. Truth is, there's only so much to go off so far, but I feel like this has the potential to be one of the most comprehensive Star Wars games that we've had, in the space combat, blaster combat, diverse biomes, open world exploration, and the overarching narrative. I think it has the opportunity to offer up a take in Star Wars games that we haven't seen for a long time, and that excites me. Do I think it's going to be the best? I don't know. It's got big competition, but I think it certainly has a lot of potential, especially being at such a fantastic studio, so we'll just have to wait and see. As they say, never tell me the odds. But there's 5 reasons why I'm excited for Star Wars Outlaws, so what are you thinking when it comes to the game? What do you want to see the most? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this vid, and you're excited for the game, hitting that like button really helps me out as a small creator. If you're looking to stay up to date on Star Wars Outlaws and all Star Wars game, consider subscribing. Have a terrific day, and I'll catch you in the next one.